We're trying to push ourselves to always be willing to brew something brave. We're basically just dedicated to making beer that we want to drink. It's like the selfish way to say it. We're just trying to stay true to what we wanted to do it for, why we started it, to find something unique or cool, some angle to brewing that was interesting, translate that up in ways, and we've kind of defined that over time to mean certain things without being extreme for extreme's sake.
I think if you stick to your guns and, really be passionate about what you're doing, it shows and people will follow.
It may have felt like an eternity, but beer makers knew that Prohibition wouldn't last forever. During this new age where the craft breweries had all but been annihilated, a new era began: mass production and mass advertising. With this mass production mentality, a restricted Pilsner-style recipe was used that was optimal for large-scale production. Low-cost ingredients like corn and rice was used in order to provide elements needed for alcohol production, also contributing to the minimal flavor of the finished product. This created the American beer. Due to mass production and mass marketing, Americans grew complacent and uninterested in hearing much about anything else. Craft beer making stalled. It was all about the big three now. But craft brewers had other plans, and celebrating the best of what they had to offer was a step in the right direction. If Pabst can have a blue ribbon, why can't they?
I don't know how to describe this. I love winning awards.
Beer awards mean 1 degree above nothing to me, and it's not because we don't win them.
Our whole motto and what we do and how we do things is, let's do a traditional style and see what we can add to that beer to make it more special, to make it a little different, to make it something that stands out to people and be like, I wonder why this would work in this beer. When we were home brewing, we brewed a Belgian golden ale. We threw a bunch of rose water in it. We entered it into a homebrew competition to see what would happen. The same competition, we brewed a Imperial Red Ale, but more of a Scottish red ale, just malty. And we're like, what do Scottish people eat? I researched it. Haggis. No, we're not going to throw lamb stomach in a beer. Kale. Turnips. Turnips don't produce that much flavor. Let's dice them up, throw it in the mash, and we'll throw it in the boil and put turnips in our red ale.
Essentially, as homebrewers, we were just really excited about brewing and brewing to try something different. Our first beer was very plain, but very good.
And we won 2 medals in the homebrew competition for those 2 beers.
You could tell where we were going really fast was trying to get to using different ingredients to get different results.
The beer we were doing was to produce something that's different than what other people are doing, yet tastes good. I guess that's a good factor of X.
We have a gold, we have a bronze in, a semi-big competition. Some of our beers have advanced through rounds in some of the biggest competitions. They haven't medaled.
Whenever you win something, of course, it's an acknowledgement of the hard work you've done. But awards are weird sometimes because it's very subjectively based.
You have to limit yourself as a brewer to a certain category. I like brown ales this way, but our judging notes said that it was too sweet, so we better adjust our recipe.
We'll get score sheets back that like, this guy tasted off flavor, off flavor, off flavor.
It's like, oh man, look at all the stuff they wrote, We gotta change everything. It's like, for what? 4 old dudes who knows if they've had 30 beers before they tried mine? Phenolic, and then move on. I've gotten caught up in that.
It comes down to individual taste and individual appreciation of a flavor. There are parameters for styles and there are parameters for everything, but when it comes down to it, And I've judged commercial competitions. It comes down to what you like better than something else.
Do your customers like it? Do you like it? Forget judges, man. Who cares, you know?
People that come in here and pay their money for it, that's really what speaks. And if they're gonna keep buying it, an award doesn't mean anything. But an award is always good for the ego, I guess. Makes you feel the tinglies inside.
When we first opened, we had a beer that we called a British Mild. We didn't know what to call it. It was kind of Englishy, and it was really light. It was like 4%. And it was so good. It was so good. But we didn't know our hop utilization in our tank and stuff, so we under-hopped it, and it was just a lot more malty. And then we also had a stuck mash, so we didn't filter out everything. It was just like a bad brew day. But the beer turned out so good. And we tried making it like 2 or 3 times after that, and we just never could do it. I really missed that beer.
At the end of the day, the toughest thing to do as a brewer is to have to decide whether, you know what, this doesn't taste like it should. We can either pass it off as what it is and try to get away with it, or for us, and what we normally do and make the decision is, this isn't good enough. We have to bite the bullet, dump it down the drain, and start again.
Maybe in our early days, we had some beer that we were not proud of, that we let slide. But now the discipline is like, dump it. You know what I mean? Like, if it's questionable, just get rid of it. It's not worth the damage in your reputation.
When you're dealing, we're a small company, every batch of beer that we make, we need to sell that beer. So when we come to a beer and we have to dump 10 barrels of beer down the drain to a large, huge brewery, that's like chump change. That's like, yeah, only 10 barrels of beer, whatever. But for us, that's 8 hours of labor invested. That's 2 weeks of time invested in a fermenter. And we have to make that decision to just dump all that ingredient cost, labor cost, everything down the drain and start over and lose 2 weeks on having that beer available.
You know, it's like, if it wasn't me, would we be better? You know, like, and us, a lot of times the answer is yes, but I think what you do after that little self-deprecation is really important. Do you learn more, do you get better, or do you just wallow? And I've done both. Learning more is much better.
It's hard to find your place in the marketplace and get where you want to go. I think that's the biggest difference in craft beer than any other industry in, I would say, the world, but I don't know every industry in the world. We are fighting, we are competing for shelf space and tap handles, but at the same time, we all want each other to succeed because we're all fighting that evil giant conglomerate known as fill in the blank here. We try to make a beer that works together and makes almost like a culinary experience for people when they go out to a restaurant and they have a food that's like, wow, this all works together. We want to make a beer that we put in front of you that it works together. Like, you get the different flavors out of it, but just in the right amounts. And that's, to me, that's artwork. Like, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but trying to produce something that you can taste a little bit of this, a little bit of this, more of this, and make it come together into something that's like delicious and beautiful, that's hard to do. And we fail a lot at it. But we throw those failures out and we keep working on it till we get something that is beautiful, that's awesome, that's delicious. And then we present that to the public and have them decide whether it's something that they agree with us on or not.
Geronimo, who would have thought that beer is such a good seller? I don't even know how it became such a big seller. Probably because it's a damn good beer, but you know, people treat it like a 4% really easy to drink beer, and it is a really easy to drink beer, but it's also happens to be 10%. And that's not necessarily because we wanted to get a big beer, it just was kind of a joke when we made it as a 5-gallon batch. And again, when you're scaling it up, why change it? You know, alcohol is a flavor, unfortunately. You know, like if you take it out, it It tastes different. I hate it when you read the ingredients list on a beer and it gets you all excited. It has chilies, unicorn hair, whatever. I really want to try that. And you taste it and it's just like a brown ale. Maybe there's something to it in the back, but nothing really. I think that's more disappointing than just somebody saying, I made a brown ale and it's good. You're like, cool.
It's lost now too. Every single beer description is just in your face with every single ingredient that's there. That's something that's kind of that's nice about the wine scene. You drink a glass and then you're picking out whatever tannins, whatever wood flavors you're getting out of there, and you're able to make your own decision. I liken that to poisoning the well. Most people can't even taste it, or they haven't even tasted the fruit that you're talking about in the beer. They haven't like gone out and ate one. A lot of times, I'm like, I've never had that before, so I wouldn't know if it was there or not.
If you can throw those great ingredients in there and you pulled it off to where everything is accessible to the palate, I think it's beautiful. Whatever the adjectives you want to use are, you've hit it where you make a beer that is both really well executed. There's nothing technically in your way of enjoying the prowess of wonderfully inspired brewing. I think that's a very difficult line to walk, and it's not possible to walk it all the time. And to get every beer to this just inspirational, people who drink it are going to write stories about it. But that's the goal. For me anyway. Sometimes we can celebrate and praise the technical aspect, celebrate and praise the artistic aspect, or ignore and shame either aspect. But I feel like nobody disagrees when they have that beer that is both inspired and technically executed, that there's something to that makes people kind of want it, more so than just a well-made beer or like a cool idea beer.
The most exciting thing is when someone comes in the door and they're like, this is incredible. This is awesome. I will pay you money to drink this, and I made it. That's exciting to me because it's like, oh, someone's actually paying for something that I produced.
Doing something that we believe is unique and has a very clear voice. I think that's been our goal. I often say everybody makes a beer you love. I mean, you can go to, between you and me, that's not true, but no, but you can go to almost any brewery in the country and you're gonna find something you love. I've found that in most cases. I'll find something at least I would drink again. It's rare that you go to a place that just totally screwed the pooch. Why would we wanna add our hat to the ring? Why would we wanna do that? And I think it's just because we're trying to push ourselves to always be willing to brew something brave, do something unique, do something that hasn't been done, not for the sake of it not being done before, but essentially because it could be good and maybe nobody had thought of it. That's kind of the main driving force. It wasn't definitely to make money, because that doesn't happen.
It wasn't until the 1970s that things began to change. In 1977, Michael Jordan Jackson wrote The World Guide to Beer. At this time, there were roughly 44 brewing companies left in the US. The book became a huge inspiration to the beer revolution, showing Americans that there was more than just the lager, hugely increasing the palate possibilities. Jackson considered beer as a component of culture and described beers in their cultural context, because it is more than just beer. It's a culture.
California Rollin' is probably my favorite beer that we've ever done, because it's just ridiculous. A bunch of people in the company, I think, contributed to the idea, So Jason and an employee, I think, talking about, I don't know, how it would be possible to make a sushi beer. And then we're all kind of brainstorming on like, well, how would that be? And and it just kind of came together into like what I believe is a truly unique and truly wonderful product. I'd bet a lot of money that anyone would find it at least enjoyable, that no matter who you are or what you like. I think that's really, really, really rare. That you have a beer that's that far weird as far as the ingredients that went into it, yet that drinkable and delicious. It has no offensive flavor, even though it has offensive ingredients, I guess, like crab that we cook in the boiling beer and seaweed that we steep in the boiling beer. That could be very inflammatory for certain people, especially me. I don't even like sushi, but I love that beer.
Whenever someone asks me, like, what beer would you get? What beer would you want? I have to look at the board. One beer, when it's always on point, it is Tangeronimo. It's our Belgian style golden strong ale with tangerines and elderflower. It's 10% ABV, and that doesn't influence why I drink it. It's just delicious. When it's on point, and we strive to make it on point every time, that's what I go to.
It's not true of every brewery, but a lot of breweries get known for a thing. That's the brewery that makes blah. You know, they're the ones that make blah. Sanctum, they're the ones that make that crazy sushi beer. I'm happy with that. I'll take it.
I'd rather be known for doing something that's very unique and excellent, rather than just being really excellent at something that's very common. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That sounded like a good soundbite in my head.
And they're not mutually exclusive either. I think you could do both. And now, whether you prefer to be known for one or the other, that's a personal take. Which is funny that he said that. It's, again, the Deus Vult might be my favorite American Belgian double. I'm like, well, you do one style really damn well. And to be truly special as a brewer, you need to be able to do both.
The number of craft breweries has gone from 8 in 1980 to 537 in 1994 to over 2,800 in 2013. And in 80 years, craft breweries were able to take back 7.8% of the total US beer market. By 2016, nearly 6,000 breweries existed in America, with 98% being small and independent, producing 12.3% of the nation's beer. By 2017, craft breweries operated in 344 congressional districts across the US, and the majority of Americans lived within 10 miles of a brewery. From county to country, you could say that beer culture in America is on the rise.
That's the goal, you know, for me anyway, is to make beer that's not just, I've heard about that style, I should try to make a good one. It has to come from a place of like, what do I want to drink? What do I want it to taste like? What do I want to feel like when I smell it? What do I want to think about when I take a sip? How do I want the complexity to change as it warms up? All that stuff is so interconnected, and I feel like that's a really big aspect of brewing that is sometimes overlooked. If you can throw those great ingredients in there and you pulled it off to where everything is accessible to the palate, I think it's beautiful. You know, it really is rewarding as a beer drinker when you taste a beer like that and you just can't help yourself but go like, damn, that's awesome. You know, like I wonder how they did that.
It's a really weird industry. It really is. Like, it doesn't make any sense to business people, especially. It's not all about trouncing the next competition and just like killing them and being like, well, screw you, we're gonna do what we want to do. It's more of a, well, how can we get you to be as best as you can be so that this industry excels and this industry of independent craft brewers can become something that's changing the world and like changing the form of how business is done.
And when the COVID kind of first came out, like, all right, 2 weeks, this whole thing will blow over, you know? Like, I've never had a quarantine order in my life, you know? So I'm like, 2 weeks go by, and I think it was just gonna continue through the next month. It was like probably a third, fourth, fifth week, something like, I don't remember exactly, of that. And it was just like, you know, I was just kind of reading between the lines. There's just no way. It just sucked. It was a really shitty place to be in. It didn't feel good. It was like, you know, I was the one doing the day-to-day stuff, and I was like, there's just no way, this isn't sustainable. You have to understand that, like, the art of this is one aspect, and the commerce is another, and the commerce is gonna win every time. Even for the artist, the commerce has to exist on some level. The bedrock, I thought, was art. And I think it sounds like a sellout to say that the bedrock is the commerce, but it's like, it's not. I think that you have to have that, and then because then you can ignore it. If a brewery can navigate that space, they're gonna win every time. They have to. I don't view it as a failure. I really don't. I think it takes a lot to run a business for 6 years, and especially one with, you know, no parking next to a train track. But you know, speaking of which, there we go. But you know, I'm happy with it. I think we did okay.
If you take one step, then you will